You know, it's funny. The yard does tend to be the thing that gets brought up the most, and I think it's both true because I mean, everybody. It's Los Angeles, so outdoor space is obviously a premium, and outdoor space is what people come here to live for usually. But I also feel like the idea of a yard is kind of it's almost symbolic in nature, right? It's this idea that you're no longer sharing a wall, and that space, there's that space that separates people. And yeah, I mean, it's absolutely kind of this mental trigger in that way. But it's funny, I was having a conversation recently with a good friend of mine that I hope to work with in the future. And she was talking about how her dream home was a beautiful house with a yard in Studio City. Now, I love Studio City. Studio City is a fantastic area. It's gorgeous, tons of shops and restaurants, and of course, you've got the canyons that you can drive through and get down into the heart of Hollywood. You've got the mountains in the background. I love Studio City, but it is a pricey area. It's not where people generally look for their first-time house in Los Angeles. But, I said to her, I was like, okay, so you know where your dream house is going to be, right? It's you even have it pictured in your mind there in Studio City. So how do you get that? Well, and she was saying, okay, well, we're kind of looking at condos in the 400 to 500 range and in other areas, but obviously you still want to be able to have a nice commute to work. And I said, well, one of the ways you could do that would be if you bought a condo, and it's not your dream condo. It's a, place that you enjoy. I mean, you're not gonna hate it. You shouldn't hate it, but 5 or 6 years of paying into that condo, of building that equity, building that base of wealth, that's what becomes your dream house. And I think that, it's funny because years ago, I didn't really even understand that myself, but suddenly when it clicked, I almost saw it as this. It was like a mountain, and the mountain seemed insurmountable. I mean, it absolutely seemed insurmountable. But I realized that if I could climb that mountain, everything else became accessible potentially in the future. And I think that's what people that are my age, people that are looking for their first-time house in Los Angeles are saying. They're saying, if I can get in, that is my jumping off point for my dream house. I know where I want to go. And people are starting to say, okay, renting and paying a landlord is not going to get me there. It's going to be the appreciation and the built-in savings that comes from continuously investing in what is your starter house or your starter condo. And I do think a lot of people feel as though the general real estate prices in Los Angeles, they almost seem too high. And yes, we are an expensive market, absolutely. But, I tell people, I was at a house in El Sereno recently, that stuff is going in the mid-5s for single-family residences, 2-bed, 1-bathrooms. And it's a nice neighborhood, and there's plenty of places that are like that. I've even been working with a buyer that, her top of the end is $325. And sure, it's difficult, but it's not impossible by any stretch of the means. I would say that, I work hard in those price ranges, and no matter what happens with the rest of the market, you're going to face competition for that because, a lot of people are looking in these ranges to get into their starter homes. But I'm really happy that I'm having multiple conversations with people where that thought process is happening, where they're saying, no, renting is not going to be the way that I get to my dream home. I can't buy my dream home, but I could get started with something that would eventually become the base, the jumping off point to my dream home. So I love that. I love having those conversations with people. I love when people have that moment of positivity, of hope, because I think in Los Angeles we've seen for years now of people just getting outbid and beat down and all cash offers. And it's nice to see that feeling return. And I'm so happy that I'm in a position to be able to help so many of those people.